Little girl cried in Courthouse. Millionaire CEO barely held back his anger when he found out why. The sound of a child's broken sobs echoed through the marble corridors of the downtown courthouse, cutting through the usual bustle of lawyers, clients, and court officials like a knife through silence. Marcus Wellington, CEO of Wellington Industries and worth over $50 million, had just finished a routine business hearing when those heart-wrenching cries stopped him dead in his tracks. He turned toward the sound, his expensive Italian leather shoes clicking against the polished floor, and what he saw made his blood run cold. A small girl, no more than 8 years old, sat alone on a wooden bench outside Family Courtroom B. Her tiny frame was dwarfed by the imposing courthouse architecture around her. Tears streamed down her dirt-stained cheeks as she clutched a worn teddy bear to her chest. Her clothes were clean but clearly second-hand, and her shoes had holes that she tried to hide by tucking her feet under the bench. But it wasn't just her appearance that struck Marcus, it was the look of absolute despair in her young eyes, a look no child should ever have to wear. If you're moved by stories of unexpected compassion and life-changing encounters, please hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to comment below about a time when a stranger's kindness changed your perspective. And make sure to subscribe to Trillionaire in Love for more inspiring stories that will touch your heart. Marcus had built his empire from nothing. Growing up in foster care himself, he knew that look, the look of a child who felt completely alone in the world. Despite his busy schedule and the important merger meeting he was supposed to attend in 20 minutes, something deep inside him wouldn't let him walk away. He approached the bench slowly, not wanting to startle her. "Hey there," he said softly, crouching down to her level. "I'm Marcus. What's your name?" The little girl looked up with red, swollen eyes. "Emma," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the courthouse noise. "Emma, that's a beautiful name. Can you tell me why you're so sad? Maybe I can help." Emma wiped her nose with the back of her sleeve and looked around nervously. "I'm waiting for the judge to decide where I have to go live. But nobody wants me because I'm broken." "Broken?" Marcus's heart clenched. "What makes you think you're broken, sweetheart?" Through her tears, Emma explained that she had been in the foster care system for 3 years, ever since her grandmother, who had been raising her, passed away from cancer. She had bounced from home to home, and each placement had fallen through. The latest family had returned her to the system just that morning, claiming she was too difficult because of her nightmares and anxiety. "The social worker says I have trauma," Emma continued, struggling with the big word. "She says that's why families don't want to keep me. They all say they'll love me, but then they change their minds." Marcus felt a rage building inside him that he hadn't experienced in years. Not at Emma, never at Emma, but at a system that would make a child believe she was unworthy of love because she carried scars from circumstances beyond her control. His jaw tightened as he fought to keep his voice gentle for her sake. "Emma, listen to me very carefully," he said, sitting beside her on the bench. "You are not broken. You are not too difficult. You are a brave, strong little girl who has been through more than most adults could handle. The problem isn't with you. It's with people who don't understand that love means staying, even when things get hard." Just then, a tired-looking woman in a rumpled suit approached them. "Emma, there you are. I've been looking for you." She glanced at Marcus suspiciously. "I'm Sarah Chen, Emma's caseworker." "And you are?" Marcus stood and extended his hand. "Marcus Wellington. I was just talking with Emma here. She seems pretty upset about her situation." Sarah's expression shifted when she recognized his name. "Mr. Wellington, I apologize. I didn't realize." "Emma, you shouldn't bother people." "She's not bothering me at all," Marcus said firmly. "In fact, I'd like to know more about her case. What exactly is happening here?" Sarah glanced around nervously. "Well, Emma's previous placement didn't work out. The family felt they couldn't handle her special needs. We're trying to find another home, but..." She trailed off. But what? Well, Emma has some behavioral challenges. Night terrors, separation anxiety, difficulty trusting new people. Most families want younger children without these complications. And at her age, the likelihood of finding a permanent placement becomes challenging. Marcus felt that anger flare again. He looked down at Emma, who had been listening to every word, watching her face crumble as the adults discussed her like she was a problem to be solved rather than a child who needed love. What if someone wanted to adopt her? Marcus asked suddenly. Someone who understood trauma and had resources to get her the help she needs? Sarah blinked in surprise. Well, there would be a home study, background checks, a waiting period, but Mr. Wellington, surely you're not serious? You're a single man with no parenting experience, and adoption is a huge commitment. I'm completely serious. Marcus knelt back down beside Emma. Emma, how would you feel about coming to live with me? I have a big house with a backyard, and I promise you this, I will never, ever send you away. Not when you have nightmares, not when you're scared, not ever. Emma stared at him with wide eyes. Really? You wouldn't give me back? Never. You know why? Because I used to be in foster care too. I know what it feels like to think nobody wants you. And I know that every child deserves someone who chooses them and keeps choosing them, no matter what. The next few months were a whirlwind of paperwork, home studies, and court appearances. Marcus hired the best family lawyers and child psychologists money could buy, not to speed up the process, but to ensure Emma received every possible support. He rearranged his work schedule, turning down lucrative deals to attend parenting classes and therapy sessions. The challenges came immediately. Emma's first night in his penthouse, she woke up screaming from a nightmare about being abandoned again. Marcus found her huddled in the corner of her new bedroom, hyperventilating. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I know you'll send me back now because I'm too much trouble. Marcus sat on the floor beside her, making no move to touch her until she was ready. Emma, do you remember what I promised you at the courthouse? That you wouldn't send me away, she whispered. That's right. And I keep my promises. Having nightmares doesn't make you trouble, it makes you human. We're going to figure this out together, okay? Dr. Martinez is going to help us, and I'm going to be here every single night if you need me. It wasn't easy. There were days when Emma would shut down completely, days when she would test his patience by breaking things or acting out. There were nights when Marcus questioned whether he was equipped for this, when the magnitude of healing a traumatized child felt overwhelming. But there were also breakthrough moments. The first time Emma laughed at one of his terrible jokes. The morning she came padding into the kitchen and asked if she could help make pancakes. The day she drew him a picture labeled, "My Dad," in crayon letters. The biggest challenge came 6 months into the adoption process. Emma's birth mother, who had lost parental rights years earlier due to addiction, suddenly reappeared and contested the adoption. The legal battle was brutal, with Emma caught in the middle, terrified that she would be taken away from the only stability she had ever known. Why is she doing this? Emma asked Marcus one evening after a particularly difficult court appearance. She never wanted me before. Marcus chose his words carefully. Sometimes people make mistakes, sweetheart. Your birth mother is sick with an addiction that makes it hard for her to make good choices. But that doesn't change the fact that you deserve a home where you're safe and loved every single day. The court battle lasted 3 months. Marcus spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on legal fees, but more importantly, he spent every day showing Emma that his commitment to her was unwavering. He attended every school event, every therapy appointment, every court hearing. When Emma asked if he was tired of fighting for her, he looked her in the eyes and said, "Emma, I would fight the whole world for you. That's what parents do." Finally, the day came when the judge made his final ruling. Marcus held Emma's hand tightly as they sat in the same courthouse where they had first met, in the same family courtroom where Emma had once cried alone on a bench. After careful consideration of all evidence presented, the judge announced, "I find that it is in the best interest of the child to finalize this adoption. Mr. Wellington, Emma is legally your daughter." Emma burst into tears, but this time, they were tears of joy. She threw her arms around Marcus, who was crying too, something his business associates would never have believed possible. "Am I really yours forever now?" she asked. "Forever and always," Marcus promised. "You're stuck with me, kiddo." 2 years later, Emma was a different child, not because her past had been erased, but because she had learned that she was worthy of unconditional love. She still had hard days, but now she had a father who celebrated her strengths and supported her through her struggles. She excelled in school, made friends, and even started speaking at adoption awareness events, sharing her story to help other children in the system. Marcus, too, was transformed. The man who had once measured success only in profit margins now understood that his greatest achievement wasn't his business empire, it was the moment Emma ran off the school bus each day and into his arms, calling him Dad. At Emma's school's father-daughter dance, as they swayed to a slow song in the decorated gymnasium, Emma looked up at him and said, "Dad, thank you for seeing me that day in the courthouse." "Thank you for letting me be your dad," Marcus replied, his voice thick with emotion. "I love our story," Emma said. "It's like you were the dad I was supposed to have all along, but we just had to find each other." Marcus smiled, remembering the scared little girl crying alone on a courthouse bench, and looking at the confident, joyful child in his arms now. "Yes, sweetheart. Sometimes the best families aren't born, they're built by people who choose to love each other no matter what." Emma's story became a catalyst for change. Marcus used his wealth and influence to establish the Emma Foundation, providing resources for older children in foster care and training for families interested in adoption. He lobbied for better support systems for foster children and families, and funded trauma-informed care programs across the state. But perhaps the most important change was the simplest one. A little girl who had once believed she was unworthy of love now knew, without a doubt, that she was treasured exactly as she was. The moral of Emma and Marcus's story is powerful and clear. Every child deserves someone who will choose them and keep choosing them, through every challenge and triumph. Love isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. Sometimes the most broken-looking situations contain the most beautiful possibilities, and sometimes a stranger's willingness to stop and listen can change two lives forever. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might need to hear Emma's message of hope, and let me know in the comments about a time when someone's kindness made a difference in your life. Your stories inspire others and create a ripple effect of compassion. And don't forget to subscribe to Trillionaire in Love for more inspiring stories that remind us of the power of love to transform lives. Every subscription helps us share more stories like Emma's with the world.